And it's like that's why this time of the year is always fun. But your average fish is also 4 or 5 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, really nice average. I mean, those fish are worth cleaning too.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Hook One Pod. Hey, we're here at Hook One Bait and Tackle in the studio. As always, I'm Pete.
And I'm Louie.
They got to know you by now.
Yep. Joe.
We got Joe with us. It's post-Thanksgiving. We took the last couple weeks off, spent some time with family, spent some time on the water, spent some time – well, I didn't spend any time in the marsh, but I think these guys spent some time in the marsh. You're tagged out, right?
Tagged out, yep.
So Louie was not in the woods. You weren't in the woods either.
I spent a little time in the woods, kind of dabbled in a little bit of everything. All those 2.5-year-olds up by Louis are safe now.
Put a beating on them this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. But hey, we are back. When we're basically going to kind of touch on a lot of the stuff that we were talking about, or that we've been doing this fall. We're going to talk a little bit about trolling. Joe and I got out the day before Thanksgiving. Had a really good day, caught some walleye, caught an absolute mondo of a muskie. You can go find that over at Joe Bauer Fishing on Instagram. You like that shameless plug?
Yeah, check it out. Follow.
Yeah, duck hunting's been really good. Again, not that I dabble in that too much, but I know a lot of our listeners do. We've had the right winds. We've got a lot of fat Canadian ducks hanging around.
Had the little ice that we just had sent a lot of them south.
Dude,
up into the river.
Yeah, there's a ton up in the river. There's so many birds that are sitting. Louie, I come in the other day thinking he's tying stingers, and he's staring out the window with his binoculars. I'm like, what are you
doing? For bands with this BB gun.
There's 2 hybrids out there in case anybody's wondering.
Yeah, there's a couple blondies, but they're not leaving, so I better not find you on my dock. That older man across the street would be pissed, though. So anyway, we'll dive into a little bit. We'll start with Louie. Louie, what the heck have you been up to lately, dude? We really haven't seen each other, like either of us three. It's been busy, so.
Just duck hunting now.
You've been doing most of your hunting out on the island?
50-50.
Have you been over to the island lately?
Not in a while. I went over. I got sick a couple weeks ago, and falling into the corn zone probably didn't help with my recovery, but we had a pretty good shoot.
I was gonna say, are there a lot of birds over there? There's got to be a lot of birds over there.
It was pretty. I mean, it's all about your draw. It's duck bingo. You get a good draw, you're gonna shoot your gun. If you don't, might as well grab your trolling rods.
Yeah, buckle up.
There's a lot of birds, but God, dude, there's not many zones they're flying into.
They just love that refuge, man. I just have such a hard time with that whole thing, and then all the hunting on the bay sucks. Again, I don't waterfowl hunt enough to have an opinion on it. I just don't like it.
I mean, I can't call. I just shoot.
Can you hit them?
Sometimes.
Sorry, see, I just waste money out the end of my gun.
It's all right. Boss shotgun shells are a nice Michigan company. Nice to support them.
Yeah, and they make a real good shot. I had some crunchy pheasants from Boss shot shells.
Extra flavor.
Yeah. At least it wasn't lead. I do enough of that pouring jigs. What are you been up to, Joe? Deer hunting, duck hunting? We went fishing.
Deer hunting. I'm really looking forward to fishing the next few weeks, as long as we don't have any ice. I mean, this is one of my favorite times of the year to fish. It's kind of after the bass have kind of settled into their winter haunts. They don't really bite very good, so it's time to chase those walleyes out on the lake. And, I mean, the river's been pretty good, too, down in Detroit. I guess you guys have been doing decent up here, but it's hit or miss.
It's been a weird bite up here. Like, we've been having when the sun comes up, the guys have been having a really hard time. But if you can stick it out overnight and do those night fish, whipping is what most guys are doing. There's a couple handliners left, but it's mostly guys that are whipping, and they're having a lot of luck. But sun comes up, it's kind of a different story.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a pretty full moon right now, too, so that doesn't help the daytime activity.
And our water's clean.
Yeah, that's the other thing, too. If you get some dirty water, you can catch them throughout the day, but it's tough catching them clean water with a big moon middle of the day.
Have you been up north fishing?
Yeah, it's been the complete opposite.
Well, there's been a lot of fish, but you can't tell me it's been the opposite, because I've been up there, dude.
It's been...
but there's
it's been a midday bite. Like the water, once the water starts heating up, it gets that little half a degree warmer. It lights on fire. But the morning and the last light type of bite is just non-existent.
It's been cold. Like
crazy's opposite in the lake. When I went out there, it was like you got to be out there first thing. Once the sun gets up, it was tough sledding unless you found some dirty water. And then the dirty water, for some reason, had a bunch of bass in it, which was odd.
Yeah, that was weird. I wasn't with you on the trip that was with Chase. You were out there?
Yeah, Chase and Timmy.
But when we went out there, we found there was a thick mud line and then some stained water, and then it did clean up a little ways out there. We fished the stained water, and we had quite a bit of luck.
We caught everything: pike, muskie, smallmouth, walleye. I mean, when we went out a couple days before that, we caught perch out there. 3 of them, 3 jumbos.
Do you think that's why the pike are out there?
I have no idea why those pike are out there.
So we've caught, what, 6 in your last 2 trips?
9 pike.
9. And we saw that
a jumper.
We saw a jumper that was chilling on the surface when we were reeling that muskie in. Just is jumping. I'm like, what is that? You look over and it was a hammer handle. The biggest hammer handle.
It
was just chilling out there. And you would think, like we were talking about it, you would think Lake St. Clair, especially on the northern end with all the pin reeds and all the bait that we have, you'd think we would have like a really sustainable pike fishery. And in the winter, they spear some really nice pike. But, I mean, it can be tough to find them, and they're not typically offshore, especially in the area where we were trolling. That's not where they...
Right. They act really weird. I mean, there's a lot of pike, but they sit in the canals and the residential areas. So they're kind of like odd places to fish for them. It's not
probably the muskie.
Well,
probably back them down, you know.
Sure. And I mean, I guess like from everything I heard, this year was a little bit of a down year for muskie. So I mean, if the muskie population's down, there's nothing really to control the pike population. So the little ones can survive. Whereas like if you have a whole bunch of 50 inchers in the lake, a 20-inch pike is going to get eaten,
right,
or at least killed.
And from what we've been hearing, it's a lot of those like mid-size muskie that we're missing, and those are the hunters. Like the 50s eat, but the mid-size ones are the ones that are growing. I mean, they're always eating.
Right.
So that is kind of odd. I'm hoping it's just a fluke year.
Yeah, I mean, Uncle Rob said it's kind of a natural cycle. He said years ago there was a lot of hammer handles, and I don't know if the water level too coming back down has anything kind of pushes them out.
Yeah.
Stuff like when we had high water, they could get back into those reeds and stuff back in like the Metro Marsh Basin and stuff where there was 6, 7, 8 foot of water. And it's now down to it's either dry or 2 or 3 foot. Just kind of depends on the way the wind is blowing.
Yeah, it's dropping fast.
So I don't know if that's displacing those fish, putting them out there or what. I mean, every once in a while we'd catch a pike, but we'd catch like one and it'd be a decent one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I mean, you're catching 15, 16 inchers. Like, there's some of them that shouldn't even have been biting the bait.
I mean, they're not even pulling the boards back.
No.
They're just on there.
It's weird. It's really weird. Have you been running in any bycatch? We were up there jigging right before, well, I guess it was that week before Thanksgiving, and it was strictly walleyes. We didn't get into any lake trout, no steelhead, nothing up there.
A lot of sheephead.
Really?
A lot of sheephead.
Can they have whitefish?
No.
Dude, they're catching a ton of whitefish in Detroit.
We haven't. I mean, I've seen like 1 or 2 that have gotten caught up there, but nothing like consistent.
I've seen a couple really interesting releases from the DNR, which it's nice to see some of that information come back. And it's on white. It was on whitefish, and there's a ton of whitefish that spawn in Detroit, and there's a ton that spawn in Marysville, like in that middle stretch of the river.
Really?
Super strange. The Detroit one threw me way off because rarely do they get caught. Like this year, we've been seeing some get caught, and some Atlantics have been ending up down there. But usually, like I'm good for like 1 or 2 in the early spring in Port Huron. You'll get a few. Now, Louie and I found something really interesting mid-river last year where we thought these fish were walleye until we caught one and realized it was a school of whitefish. And it was hard to stay on them with the current and everything. It would have been interesting to see if you would have had something like smaller. They got a hard time getting that 1 ounce, 3/4 ounce jig in their face.
Yeah, I mean, over on the west side of the state, when they come in and they spawn in the fall, so they come into the pier heads on Muskegon Lake, White Lake, all the way up the coast, and they catch a lot of them on blade baits. And it's like you catch 3 or 4 of them, but only one of them's legal to keep because that mouth's so small. They really attack it, but they have a tough time getting those treble hooks in their mouth.
Right.
And like over in Green Bay too, they catch them on number 7 jigging rafts.
Yeah.
Because they're eating gobies down there, and you get a jigging raft looks like a goby.
I
Yep.
bet that new power twitch is gonna catch a lot of whitefish this spring.
Yeah.
Just because it looks exactly like a goby on the bottom.
Goby or the perch ones look really good too.
Because they use those Meeps goby jigs like
Yeah.
up in Canada for whitefish. And it looks almost the exact same.
Well, I would really, dude, I love whitefish. I would love to be able to like consistently get them and not go up to the harbors
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Because you know they're around, but like you said, with a bigger bait like that. But the ones that we catch, like the ones that you get in Port Huron, are usually jumbos.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to worry about throwing them back. So I would like to see a few more of those though.
I mean, too, if I'm gonna catch them, I don't want those big ones to eat. I
Right.
want a nice mid-size one,
Yeah.
nice and tender. And they're really good eating. But I like with anything, like I don't want to eat a 9-pound walleye either. Just want a nice in between one, big enough to clean, but like I want the quality of meat. I don't need 100 pounds of fish in my freezer.
Right. So have you jigging up? Because like here, it really hasn't mattered using live bait. Have you guys been using minnows up there yet? Still just jigs and plastics, messed up cadences, or what?
Mostly jig and plastics. I mean, I've used a little bit of scent, but I haven't really had to use like minnows yet. But it's mostly cadence up there. Like one day it's really really aggressive.
Yeah.
If it's a nice sunny day.
Yeah.
And then it'll be kind of a shitty day where it's cold out. You almost have to drag the jig.
Yeah, the whole drag and the jig thing's been interesting. I gotta get on editing it, but I took the GoPro out just to like do some random stuff here and there out there, and I noticed that like the fish were hitting really light, and I was dragging the jig, and you would feel it. It's basically like you feel it load up.
Yeah, that's exactly what it
Yeah.
is.
And so you'd feel it load up, and I'd set the hook, and I was like, "This is so weird." And I ended up like, thank God I had the GoPro there with it had the charger on it, so I just kept recording. I was like, "I'm gonna keep recording until I stop catching fish." I did 3 drifts, probably caught 10 fish, and I would say 7 out of the 10 were like dragging the jig. It was very strange.
I wonder if it has to do with pressure too. So like in Detroit, when I was down there jigging a couple weeks ago, there was a ton of boats and there weren't very many nets flying. But I mean, I could see the fish down there on the live scope.
Mm-hmm.
We just kind of changed things up and used some baits that were newer on the market that I know a lot of those guys don't have. Because when you go down there, it's so clicky. Like you got like the dip net guys, and they'll push one color, the log perch from Lure Lipstick. That's what everybody was using. That one and Ambassador Massacre, 2 totally different colors, like not even close to looking the same. But those were, according to them, the only 2 colors they were biting on. So, I mean, I kind of mixed it up and used something that I knew everybody else wasn't using, and we started catching them. And it was, I mean, low and slow, like we weren't doing anything because there's a lot of boats there. And I think that pressure has, when you can get away from doing something everybody else is doing, it helps a lot.
And that would make sense. There's a lot of boats up north, too, that are fishing that.
Everybody around here is using natural colors because it's super clean, but throw on like an antifreeze jig and a Pimp Daddy body, and they haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we did. Just drag it on bottom.
Yeah. And how many episodes have we had where we talk about this stuff? Like, we talk about how guys come in and they're like, this one color is catching fish. And, like, it probably is catching fish. But there's, like, you'll have 5 customers walk in and they'll tell me 5 different colors. And then, obviously, with social media and everything, you can really blow it up. But there is something to be said when there's a lot of pressure and a lot of the guys are using the same thing, because I mean we're all seeing the same information, and it's just because the color's working, you know what I mean? If those fish turn off, it could be because they kind of keyed in on that color or what they've been eating.
Yeah, colors can be hot for an hour or they could be hot for a season.
Yeah,
it's really hit or miss.
And I will say, like up here, at least at Cherry Beach, which obviously has no similarities to down in Detroit, but I was catching a ton of log perch, like snagging them on my stinger and stuff. And I was like, no way. And the guys up here were using the same, because they saw the reports in Detroit. So they come up here and they were using it. And I think there's just a lot of that bait in the system right now. So that color was smoking. It's a good looking color with the black stripes, but you're right. I
wonder if they spawn this time of year. I wonder if that's why it was hot.
I don't know. I
see a lot of bigger log perch in the fall. Like you catch a lot of the like 2 inchers in the springtime.
And we caught like a couple it was really weird. The one day we went out, we only caught 7 walleye, and we probably caught for log perch and a couple gobies, but more log perch than gobies. I wonder if it is a fall thing, because like in the spring you'll do the same thing, but it'll be spot tails.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it is kind of a fall thing, because it really was. That was popping. Like my shelves were empty on it quick, and then the purple one went. Yep. But it is funny because, like you said, you hear, up here it was blue ice chartreuse tail for the longest time, dude. It was everywhere. Everyone was pushing it. Everyone was catching fish on it. But then the bite would slow down, and you'd switch over to something completely different, Arkansas Shiner or like a Pimp Daddy even. Yeah. And I'm a Pimp Daddy hater, but it flat out works. You can't argue results. But it is funny how the pressure, that's interesting, because I obviously think pressure, but I didn't really put 2 and 2 together, because up there's a ton of boats. Yeah. And here they've been whipping a lot, but not necessarily jigging. But there's been a lot of baits.
You notice pressure and color a lot during crawler harness season. When everybody's on the same drift. Everybody's using red beads and copper blades or silver blades, and you throw like pink or purple out.
Yeah.
And the one rod just will not stop catching fish.
That's why I'll switch over to a jig. Sometimes you'll just jig through there and you'll get them going. A lot of times, though, they won't bite it.
Yeah.
It's
when
weird.
Biting a worm, I'm throwing a worm. I don't want a jig. I've been keeping my stuff vertical for 2 months at that point.
Yeah.
I'm ready to just sit back and reel them in.
I love watching that rod load up. Like, it's like, I love when you're just going down, all of a sudden you see that rod start loading up, and then it starts head banging, and it's like, let's go.
It's the best when all 4 go off and you have no idea what to do.
Dude, what if the same fish eats 2 crawler harnesses?
I've never had that happen.
I have.
This year?
Kyle Scott reeling in the same walleye. We both have our harnesses in its mouth, and somehow it gets off, and we both lose it.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
It's like I got soft mouths. Yeah. It's like, dude, not that soft.
Kyle cranking 152 miles an hour. He wanted that one bad. All 19 inches of it.
Yeah. I want to go there. I'm not going to go there. Yeah, the crawler season this year was lights out. Not trying to go back to the spring, but we had a lights out crawler bite. And people are like, it's boring pulling crawler harnesses. If you've ever caught a 5-man limit pulling crawler harnesses, you'd never caught. Like, it's constant action.
Dude, those people that say trolling is boring, like, they don't catch enough fish.
Yeah, because even when we're out on the lake, like, you talk about this time of year. What I love most about this time of the year is we can do a full day trip. We can go from sunup to sundown, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. You fish at sunup to sundown, and it's not like it's not balls to the wall all the time where boards are dropping back, but it's like if you're doing it right, you're gonna stay busy. You got to make sure your lines are clear of the float. We've had a lot of debris in the lake, so keeping your lines clean, lily pads and weeds. There were lily pads out there when we were out there before Thanksgiving, and then we were running bandits. We're in 16 foot of water. I'm running them 14 foot down, and I'm coming up with weeds every now and then. And, like, that's just not normal.
The weeds died really late this year because they were still green deep into September. But September was warmer than it was in August.
Yeah, that's true.
In the marsh, like at Harson's, there's still green frags coming up. Like, not everything's dead yet.
Yeah.
I think we just had, this year it was almost like the season of extremes. Like, the spring was really cold until it wasn't.
And dry, too.
Yeah.
The spring was dry, and then when we got June, we started getting rain.
Yep. That dry spring, June and July. July rained. Yeah. I had on my thing, I think it rained 16 or 18 days in July.
Yeah, I believe it.
And, that's not good for a bait shop. That's bad for business.
Bad for smallmouth fishing, too.
What's that?
It's bad for smallmouth fishing, too.
Dirtying that water up?
Well, it's like sunshine.
Yeah.
I mean, the cloudy days are...
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I mean, the bigger... You catch your big ones on those nasty days, overcast days, but, you can go hours in between without a bite really easily.
Yeah, it's funny because, like you said, it's the exact opposite. So, we need those rains in the spring because, our water was so clean this year. We felt that. On our guide trips, we're watching guys in Detroit pound them, and we're struggling for bites. And believe me, looking at the live scope, it was not a lack of fish. It's just it's clean water during the day. It made it tough. And then when those days are always sunny in the spring, but then I don't know. It'll be interesting to see the rest of this fall because now talk about those extremes, dude. It's really cold. It went from a warm fall to like we have freezing temps now up through Thanksgiving. Fingers crossed we don't get any ice. Sorry, ice fishermen, but if those canals stay open heading out to the lake, we're catching walleyes like into Christmas, through Christmas.
I mean, last year we caught walleyes in the boat all 12 months.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool. We still got 3 weeks of ice fishing, but we were in Florida, so it was nice.
Yeah, it was a good thing. And we're gonna have at least half of this month into December to fish. Like you said, next week looks really good. Louie and I got into some really good trout and salmon fishing. When was that? February?
Yeah, early spring, like as soon as the ice was out.
So it's like if it stays open, and I'll be honest with you, Joe, me and Louie talked about it. It seems like there's a lot more people fishing late into the season than there have been. Like, I mean, within the last 5 years, I guess. But there's boats fishing. They want to fish 12 months a year now.
Yeah, I mean, you got those brawlers too. They're fishing a lot down there on Erie. The only thing with like St. Clair right now that's all messed up is the boat ramp situation. You got 9 miles closed for 2 years. Blossom's closed right now. Usually they're letting in out of towners right now. So you've literally got Harley Ensign, which is, at the northern end of the lake, and then you've got to go all the way down to the Detroit River. So that takes away kind of those smaller boats. And there's a lot of those 16 to 18 foot aluminum boats that you just don't want to make a 5-mile run in, even if it's calm. Like, you don't know when that wind's going to kick up this time of year. Like, them and Fitzgerald didn't sink in July, dude.
No, and it's like St. Clair's one of those lakes. It's not a great lake, but it is in the sense like it turns like that. Like everyone talks about how Erie and Superior turn like that. St. Clair turns like that, and like you can have a front come through, and it can go from 5 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour, and within 5 minutes there's waves building. Yep. And it's choppy, it's dangerous, and no, you don't want to take a 16 to 18 footer out. What a nightmare! What a nightmare! Millions of dollars, months, and it's not even deep enough. It's like, I'm not going to get started, but it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating, and honestly, even the sense that Crocker is the last one.
They were working on that whitefish study, dude. They couldn't work on the boat ramps. They had one thing at a time.
We're gonna have to run.
Biting my tongue because our Marine City launch is a shit pile too. But we'll just leave it at that.
For years.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
I've ever been here.
There's a lot of money going back into that stuff. I don't know where it's going. I don't know where it's going.
Gretchen took out a loan from them for the roads.
How many people did you have this year that had to buy a Michigan fishing license for at least a day?
I don't know. Maybe one or two.
Couple.
Oh, Canada. No, I'm just kidding. We spent our clients buy licenses for both places. So they spend a lot of money, and we're not the only guides. There's hundreds of guides.
Yeah, so and a lot
of money going.
Yeah.
Can't even wrap your mind around it. Just
Detroit River in April.
They don't care about us. Where they care about the politics and getting reelected and keeping their job.
Right. It's just a bummer because it's like we have such a good fishery here. I was talking to somebody about it the other day. We have such a good fishery here, and I think it'll always remain. And it's not like Lake St. Clair is a hidden gem, but it's not like we have a ton of people come. Now they do come to fish smallmouth, but like the other stuff, it's not like. And it's because the access. Like with smallmouth fishing, you could launch anywhere and find smallmouth. But certain times of the year, like right now and then in the spring, all these fish are on the south end of the lake and they're heading into Detroit. There's nowhere to launch.
From Detroit.
Yeah.
That's where those big ones are right now, I think. Because they're getting 8-9 pounders, jigging still. But with this cold snap, I think those fish are going to push up, and we should be able to see some of those trolling hopefully this weekend.
I thought we were going to hit it. I thought we were going to hit it last week, but especially with the full moon and stuff, I think it
wasn't cold enough, quick enough.
Are we going to get that 10 pounder?
I think this is 9-1 last year.
I know.
Fish are definitely getting bigger.
The fish are definitely big.
We got a lot of bait, dude. We have a lot of bait in the system right now. There's
those walleyes I cleaned the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what food they had in their stomachs?
Perch.
No.
Shad.
No.
I thought shad was too easy. That's why I didn't say shad.
I don't know. don't know. It's
Smell.
gotta be something stupid.
They had gobies the size of Snickers bars
Really?
in their stomachs.
Dude,
That's
so see,
hilarious.
it's been opposite, like in Port Huron. All the bait they're eating is like this big.
In the river. In the river,
Yeah.
dude, all the fish were cleaning, and this has been like all year. Like it started with the salmon, and I was like, oh, the salmon. Well, because they were too. The salmon were keying in on smaller baits, but even the walleye and everything. And maybe it's just because that's what we have right now. That's like part of our cycle is just these tiny little shiners.
But when I was in Detroit 2 weeks ago, there's a lot of boats, and like you see everybody show their picture of their graphs, and there's arches everywhere. And they're like, wow, look at all the walleyes. How many walleyes do you catch jigging halfway down? 0.
They're not walleyes.
They're big ass gizzard shad. And like these freighters would go through, and those shad are way up, and the motors are hitting these gizzard shad, or just the turbulence is stunning them.
Mm-hmm.
There were 500 seagulls behind every freighter, just gorging themselves on the gizzard shad.
Dude.
And every single fish I cleaned from those had gizzard shad in them. But for some reason, those gizzards just haven't made it to the lake yet, is what I'm assuming.
Yeah, because we didn't mark them really.
No, I mean,
not like we used to. Yeah,
and
not like we used to.
There's a bunch of emeralds that were already in like the harbors and stuff. But like those big walleyes, they like those big gizzards. So
Yeah.
I think as soon as those gizzards kind of pop up, and they'll want to get out of that current, so they're going to go up and winter in the lake where there's less current in the river.
Mm-hmm.
And the walleyes, those big ones, will just be right behind them. So it should happen any day now. I mean, any day now that it's cold.
I saw that happen last year in the shipping channel. It was in the fall, and it probably was gizzards. I never went. It was through the shipping channel. The freighter went through, and while he was up, I found all these seals were following him. And I was like, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
It's probably spinning those gizzards up.
The only reason why I saw it is because like we were fishing in the middle of the channel, and like when one went through, I got right behind it just to try and figure out what was going on. That's what it was.
Bunch of gizzards coming up.
So we switched to a 5-inch white emerald or pearl eye candy. And,
Yeah, from Northland.
Yeah, the new ones,
Dude. Yeah,
I know nobody else was fishing them because Dipnet didn't have them on the stock yet, and they didn't have a video of them.
I don't even know if they were out.
I don't know if they are or not.
I didn't have. I mean,
we got a really good Northland wrap around here. Support them.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. Northland is one of those brands that doesn't get near the amount of recognition that it needs on this side of Lake Michigan because it's huge over on the other side, and they make. I'll tell you what. Something that would be really good for a lot of people around here that I should probably bring into the shop, but I don't think it'd sell, to be honest with you. They have these short shank tungsten jigs, and you put a night crawler on that thing, game over in the summer. Game over. Just drop it down to the bottom, and whatever's down there is going to bite it. We talked about it with like the drop shots, and I talk about the 1/2-ounce jigs that I use, that when you can downsize it with that tungsten stuff, the new eye candy is made with that Elastec. It's a little bit pricier. I think that's something that might scare away some customers, but it's the quality that you're getting for it. You're not getting anything else for that price.
I mean, it's a lot softer than a Lunker City, or I mean, the only ones that are like really soft too would be the English Choice, the walleye minnow.
Mm-hmm.
Those are pretty soft. But like when the water's cold, I like a soft, subtle bait. And most of the time that we're jigging for walleyes, the water is cold.
Yeah.
And that's when the big ones are around in the river. Otherwise, they go out to the lake. And every once in a while, you'll hear of a big one getting caught in the summer, but when the water's warm. But that soft Elastec or that really soft plastic really makes a difference, I think.
Yeah, especially when it's like those split seconds where it's paused and the fish can actually look at it and identify it. The difference between its tail just even doing this.
Oh yeah.
And it might just trigger that fish because the fish knows what it's looking for. Like if people are like fish are dumb. No, there's a lot of them and they're hungry. Yeah. So then they're dumb. But when they're not dumb, they're pretty damn hard to catch.
Yeah. The days that they are dumb that's what keeps us coming back for more.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, a lot more days where they're smart than when they're dumb.
Yeah, we did have a lot of big gizzard shads in the river. What was that? We actually talked about it a little bit on the podcast, but me and Louie were out there and we marked them, and Louie's like, I got to find out what these are. Drops a jig down. It's like second or third jig, pulls up a 14-inch gizzard shad, like a hog.
Musky candy right there.
Dude,
they were every spot we went to, they were just thousands of them.
Every spot that you'd stop at and be like, that looks like a walleye would be there. gizzard shads everywhere. Like there were so many shad that it wasn't even worth fishing because I don't think I could have tricked the fish. Like it was, it's all you can eat buffet.
I mean,
They're gonna wait for the current to push them down and hungry hippo it.
It had to be like a 15-pound walleye to swallow up one of those big ones.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean those big ones like that are it's nuts when those gizzards fill the river how fast they fill them. I'm surprised though how many gobies would still be out there, and especially where we were fishing, it was so sandy. But those fish are moving. I mean, obviously those fish are moving.
There's a lot of gravel down there too. It's pretty hard bottom. There is a lot of sand too, but there's enough, and there's a lot of tires down there, dude. I don't know why or how, but
I'll tell you why. I want to find out
down there, and you'll see them.
Those old timers threw plenty of tires, but I want to find out where their washing machines are and their Christmas trees.
I'll tell you where one is.
And how long have you scanned that lake?
Dude, a lot. Probably put I fished a tournament in September, and the fishing was tough on St. Clair. All the guys everyone in the top 10 that cashed a check went to Erie. And I mean, I didn't spend enough time down there. I didn't go down there at all. I figured I could do well on St. Clair, but I spent a lot of time graphing, and I found some stuff. But dude, I probably put 18 hours on my boat motor in 2 weeks.
A lot of sand.
There's a lot of sand, a lot of grass, and grass. And when you found something hard, there were fish on it.
Yeah, that was just bad. Whatever, that's just fishing luck. Whatever. Fishing was good a week before that. It was tough for a while after that, though.
Yeah.
It was
really
tough.
Spotty.
What's to be said about the quality of bait that those fish are eating and how they're getting bigger? Do you think it makes much of a difference if a fish is eating one bait instead of another?
I mean,
like obviously, if you're eating big shad, you're going to be bigger. But if you're eating like more protein or more,
definitely. I mean, like the gobies are just so full of like fat and protein, and they don't have any spins on them hardly at all. Like they're not spiny at all. They're really easy to digest. It's like eating a Reese's cup, dude. Like those things go down so fast and smooth. They taste good. Like you're right, grabbing another one before.
Do you remember those things used to terrorize the fishery? They're like gobies. They're eating all the eggs. They're killing everything, and now everything kills a goby. A goby's too scared to leave a rock. Uh-oh.
I swear to God, if it's a Google call, dude.
You guarantee it's going to be a Google call. If it's a Google call, I'll leave this in the video.
Jeez. But anyways, like, if they're eating perch, dude, like perch are spiny. They're hard to digest. Same thing with the crawfish. I mean, I know the walleyes eat crawfish. I know the smallmouth, everything eats crawfish. Perch, I've had a lot of big perch with little crawfish in them.
Yeah.
And they're just a lot harder to digest. And, I mean, you catch them, they spit them up. And how many times you see them spit a goby up? Not very often. And when you do, they're pretty much still alive because they just ate it. Like, some of those crawfish they spit up, they're just in, like, chunks. So, like, they've been, like, letting it soak in their acid in their stomach for a while.
Yeah.
So,
just been sitting.
Yeah. So I don't know. There is something to be said about what they're eating and how fast they grow and how big they get, but it's tough. I mean, it's not like we have any say in it. It's just natural. It's going to be what it's going to be unless the TNR starts planting bait, and we all know that's not going to happen.
No.
It's just not feasible, really, because they can't grow fast enough to feed all the fish that we've got.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely interesting and it's obviously certain times of the year too. But like, dude, you'll catch 16-inch walleye that got shoulders on them, and it's like that's why this time of the year is always fun. But your average fish is also 4 or 5 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, really nice to average. I mean, those fish are worth cleaning too. I mean, you get a 3 or 4 pounder, like they're not too big to where the meat kind of sucks. They're nice quality of meat. You get a nice...
That cold water, there's something to be said. There's something to be said about getting a walleye out of cold water.
There's nothing better. Like cold water, if you keep them in the cold water, that meat stays nice and firm. Mm-hmm. You bleed them out. There's no blood in it. That quality of meat, like especially if you keep them wet, like take care of your meat as soon as you clean your fish. You don't let your fish sit around and get slimy.
Yeah.
Dude, you can't beat it. It's just awesome.
No, it's real. And then you're sitting there with like that white fillet. Like we can all speak for this, but like, dude, at the end of your charter, right? Because everybody loves going home with fish during walleye season.
Yep.
And like when you're done cleaning those fish and you're holding those fillets in your hand, or your customer's holding them, and it's like a mound of like this beautiful white meat. It's like you cannot beat that. You did that yourself, and then you're gonna go home and like I tell my customers, one of the most common questions when you're out there is, what's the best way to eat these things if they haven't had them yet? It's like, dude, literally pick your choice. Put them on the grill, put them in the oven, air fry them, put them in a pan, put them in a deep fryer, put them on a skillet, blacken them, bread them. It's like, just put seasoning on them. They're so good.
Like whatever you would normally do with a farm raised nasty tilapia, do that with your fresh, like high quality walleye. And
Yeah.
You won't go wrong.
No.
And the fillets seem like heavier in the springtime. They're so thick.
Yeah, the spring and the fall are just
like when you load Ziploc bags up in the springtime, they're heavy.
Yep.
There's nothing better than handing like a full Ziploc to a customer and they're just like, oh my god, like it's like literally you struck gold. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. Like, you're not only spending the money to go out on a charter and catch fish and have a great time and make memories that last a lifetime, and I'll give you the whole spiel. But dude, you're going home with fish that if you go to Sam's Club, it's $12.99 a pound. And it does not look like that. It doesn't even look close.
It's either commercially netted in the Great Lakes, the small percentage, or it's not even walleye. It's Zander from Europe that's farm raised.
And there's skin on. It's always skin on. It's never skinless. And it's like, it's just, and a lot of the times when
it's like pink,
yep,
like dark and fishy. And
well, it's the same thing. We were literally just talking about it on that fishing trip, but meat. Yeah. Like when you go to a grocery store, like your average grocery store, like you look at those steaks and you look at the tenderloin or whatever, and it's like this bright red, for the beef. And then you look at like, obviously a deer is different than beef, but you look at like this time of year, you see everyone processing their own deer, or you see everyone buying like quarter cows, half cows, and you see the meat that comes in from that. And it's like dark. It's not bright red. Why would it be bright red? It's the same thing with your fish. Like, don't kill yourself early, I guess. I don't know. I shouldn't be the one to talk. I love McDonald's, but if you're eating that stuff and you want it to be quality, like I've had people eat store-bought walleye, come out on a trip, and they're like, I don't think I really like walleye. And I'm like, you can leave it here. Yeah. You can leave the meat here. It's like, it's just really hard to beat. And then, like you said, the cold water, there's just those summer walleyes, even like when you put ice in the live well and stuff and you try and keep them cold, it's just not the same because they've been living in that 60-degree water.
Yep. The meat's not as dense, like Louie was saying. They get slimy really quick. It's just not as good. Like, it's fine, like if you're in a pinch, but you can't put them in your live well. You need to literally put them right in a cooler on ice.
Yes.
And then you can't bleed them out as good. It's just not the same.
Even when you do bleed them out in the summertime, there's still a little bit of that like pinkish red. Yep. And then you got to put them in the fridge with ice over the night.
Yep. Dude, when you bleed them out in the summer and like all that stuff, I don't even know what it is, all that stuff comes out of them. Yeah. And it sits in the live well. It's like, you want to talk about torturing someone?
I'll tell you what, though, I'd rather have that in my live well in the summertime where you can rinse it out real easy than now where you don't want to put any water in your boat.
Exactly.
Like now it's like, so what I've been doing is taking them home and getting a 5-gallon bucket, filling it up halfway, and then taking them out of my live well and cutting them in the bucket so they bleed out in the bucket.
Yeah.
In the live well.
Yeah.
Because like that stuff in the live, obviously this time of the year it gets cold at night. Like we do not want any water in our boats because that's how stuff breaks.
Yeah, like so you take extra time at the launch with your motor down. You take extra time at the launch with your trailer. You don't want any ice in the trailer. You definitely don't want any ice in, like if you got a little crack in your lights, ice gets in there and then or water gets in there, it turns to ice. It's a bad situation. That's actually really good advice in general.
Absolutely, take your time, like especially if it's around freezing when you're launching your boat. Pull out really slow, get your bunks just out of the water, but your wheel's still in.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Let it drain.
We got some time to talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Someone put that on Facebook, and I couldn't believe the amount of people that were like, why would I do that? Why would I waste my time? And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like it's such
Haters.
it's such a common it's
Just
such a
courtesy.
common courtesy thing to sit there for an extra 30 seconds. So a majority of the water comes off, and so Buddy doesn't slide down the ramp. I was just like, I was really blown away, and it wasn't in a page that was around here, so it's whatever. I don't have to deal with the guys on a daily basis. But I was just like, holy smokes, dude! Like you can't take 30 seconds to a minute. Like your truck boat. I don't care if your truck and boat's worth $5,000 combined. It's worth money.
Yeah, their Astrovan's going to be at the bottom of the ramp.
Yeah.
Take your time.
Yeah, I was like, holy cow. I mean, you up in Port Huron.
Oh, dude.
Marysville, same. I mean, every
You
launch.
you
St. Jean would be terrifying, even though it's closed. You imagine that?
You give Port Huron 30 minutes in the wintertime, and there's about an inch of ice because everybody dumps their boat in and peels out as fast as they can. They go catch their 6 walleye.
If I have, like,
they're not going to bite all day long.
No. The few trips that I have had, I've been there early to get the boat in the water. Because, like, one, I don't want to be getting my boat, like, sitting in a long line when it's cold, even though I'm in the truck or whatever. I don't want to be sitting in a long line. But the other thing is, I just, with all that ice, and I do always have, what is it, salt, sand, cat litter. All three of them are pretty good to keep in the car. But it's just like, I'd rather avoid that whole thing completely if possible.
Well, I mean, got to have it in case you need it. If you need it, you need it. Like, otherwise,
you're going in.
Right. Or you're not getting your boat out.
Listen, stop your trailer on the launch and drain it if you're hunting or fishing in the winter. That's my PSA today.
Just take your time.
Yeah, what's the rush?
Everybody's in a rush now.
That's the other thing. We would always rush when we were duck hunting. We'd always rush. You got to get out there. You got to get to your spot. And the next thing you know, old buddy comes in 5 minutes after shooting light, sets up at the end of your spread, and it's like, well, it's a good thing I got up at 3:30 in the morning to rush out here.
It's public property.
Yeah, that's how she goes. That is how she goes. Well, what do we got coming up, man? We have some really good fishing ahead of us. Hopefully, it stays open because we like the trolling. We talk about how it's our favorite time of the year, and we've mentioned it several times on this one and before, but like it really hasn't even got going yet.
No, I've been out twice. Normally I get like 10 or 12 trips in a year usually, and I've only been out twice. I mean, the fishing was pretty solid both times, but the water was still warm. I mean, we're 49 degrees the day before Thanksgiving. That's pretty warm still. I mean, I know, like, I just watched John's fishing report today. He said the water temp in Belle Isle's 39 degrees. Now we're into that. That's winter.
That's what you want.
That's, I mean, you're going to be pulling.
And that's at Belle Isle? That's great. Yeah. That's great.
So, I mean, up where we fish, it'll probably be 40 to 41. Just kind of depends. That main current's usually a little bit colder.
Dirty water, sunny day is gonna change. This time of year, it might change it a degree. You know what I mean?
It all depends on kind of how warm it's going to get, what way the wind's blowing. There's a lot of different factors, but
the next week looks warm though.
Yeah,
like 50 degrees today.
Yeah, we're gonna get the cameras out there. That's something we wanted to do.
Yeah, hopefully we have a video for you guys.
Yeah, we want to put something together. I'm I'm so dead set on the fact of having a GoPro face backwards so I can catch the boards drop. That's just one of the coolest things ever.
I mean, I want to do like an informational video too for those guys that haven't really done it before. That I want this to be the video that they look at and be like, okay, I feel confident that I can go out there and catch a fish or two. Not necessarily going to give away like areas or anything, but we're going to show you how to set up your boards, what lures to run, how far back, how to know how far back you need to send them, how to know like what colors you should use based on water clarity and the sunshine and stuff like that. I just want to like put a good video together, whereas fish catches are just a bonus.
Right. And trolling's a lot, dude. Like so many people look at trolling and they're like, oh, that's easy. But it's like when I first got into it, being a river rat and like a river guy, and that's who our clientele is. Like our clientele, believe it or not, I don't have it here. We're in Marine City. So like we're jigging guys. So like when you're learning how to troll and you're seeing, went out today and got them 25 to 35 foot back, planer boards, blah, blah, blah. And then you go to look at a planer board and there's right and left, which I know it sounds stupid, but then you're like, well, is it right and left when you're going forward or is it right and left when you're looking at your boards backwards? And then it's, Do you let out 35 foot and then your planer board and then another 35 foot, or how much do you know how to let out? So really touch on that stuff and go into depth on how to just make it really simple, especially out on Lake St. Clair. Like it's not a deep lake, so it's not like you're over at like east of the islands on Erie where you're doing like 50 plus 2 and me and Louie can't do math.
Good Lord. That was...
And
Those trash bags we caught that day were like freaking master anglers, though.
well, like I wonder if we're down deep enough. The board goes back. We brought up a trash bag. It's like, oh fuck.
Yeah, we were about 100 feet too deep.
I watched the board go back and I was like, that's a giant.
Sure was.
So we're going to touch a little bit on that, a little bit about the Precision Trolling app and how we use it and run different baits. And again, it's really simple, guys. It's short leads, it's running boards, but again, it's expensive, man. It's like trolling isn't jigging. You buy one rod, one reel. You might have a spare setup. You buy one rod, one reel, and you got your jigs and stuff. With trolling, it's like you need at least 4. You want 6, really, because you're allowed. If you're with 2 people, you get 3 rods a guy.
Yep.
We like to run 3 guys and get 8 rods. Yep. So now you're at 8 planer boards at $35 a piece, and then your baits are anywhere from $8 to $18, and it's a lot, but it's a really effective way to catch fish. It's a really effective way to cover water.
And dude, when it's cold out, like I don't want to jig because like if I'm jigging efficiently, I'm not wearing gloves, so I can feel those bites, especially when it's cold. They don't bite as like violently, so it's a softer bite.
Yep.
And like when you get water on your hands and it's 39 degrees out, it sucks. So like you set out your trolling rods. I really like to fish when it's above freezing. Anytime it's making ice, I'm just gonna punt that day. I'm not going out just because like you can set everything out. It doesn't freeze up. Throw your hands in your hoodie.
Yeah.
Put on some big gloves, and then like once you have a 50-inch muskie in the boat, take your gloves off and hold them up.
Yep, it's time to go to work. You got to grab the rod. You got to grab the net.
Right.
Do it for a second, and then move on.
Back up. Like you can run a heater in your boat. Just kind of chill if you need to.
Yeah.
But trolling, you can take your time. Like
yeah.
One bait comes out of the water, you got 5 more out there. You're not missing much.
Right. And like you said, just handling, like in trolling, you handle the fish, throw it in the live well, send the bait back out. Your hands are freezing the whole time. Boom, put them in your pockets. Jigging, it's like, back on the remote or back on the rod, staring into the wind.
Yeah.
With jigging, it's like your bait's out of the water, and then you get one, and you're like, gotta unhook it, run back to the live well, run back up to the front,
get your boat back vertical,
drop back down.
Yeah, I love nothing more than a early morning jig and bite in the spring. But when my customer asks for another minnow, you better catch a fish. You can't be losing minnows because it hurts my hands so bad, dude. It's so cold. Maybe I should just get it better than that, but whatever. But I mean, just handling. So trolling is the ideal way to go. And then the other thing, like in the summer, trolling is one of the best ways that you could, besides for pan fishing, get a kid interested in fishing because the boat's always moving, so you can keep them occupied. And then in the summer, like with the lake, you have weeds coming up, so you just fish the top 8 foot of the water column. Pull all different sorts of baits, and you're going to catch walleye, smallmouth, pike, muskie. It's going to give you an opportunity, and that's going to help you find out, other spots that you could go cast and fish.
Yeah. Because
you're covering water in the summer. Shoot, man, you're going 2 to 3 miles an hour if you want to.
Yeah. Catch fish, drop a waypoint, and then you can circle back.
Yep. So definitely looking forward to that. Louie, I gotta say, dude, I am semi-depressed. We just never got that salmon run and it might be early because the water temps are still warm, but I really thought we were going to finally start seeing some of those Atlantics in Coho to where you could target them, not just like randomly catch them.
It's funny you said that because after duck season, I was planning.
I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. 42 degrees was when it started for us last year. 42. It went from 42 to about 50, and then it started slowing down. So maybe we just need that water to come down a little bit. But the other thing is, I don't think those salmon are going to come in unless Huron starts really cooling down and it forces more of that bait.
Well, Huron really just started getting that cold that I think needed to push them down. Like it was still 40 degrees last time I was up there. So we got a ways to go.
Yeah, so that's got to drop, and we'll see. I'm definitely excited for it. I'm definitely not going to throw a muskie bait. Sorry, Frank. It's brutal, dude. When you're catching 50 inches in walleye trolling, it's like, oh, they have physically and mentally whooped me this year. Whooped me. I just want walleye fish again.
I didn't even pick up a muskie rod this year.
I know. I couldn't believe that.
Never have. Good.
I
Catch my Ned rigs.
Net rig, drop shot,
That's
bandit,
kind of where I was at.
husky jerk.
Basically,
Any-
anything that rattles.
Anything that's not a muskie bait.
Much.
Well, I think that's about our time, boys. Is there anything else that we wanted to add in there for what's coming up? I think that was
There's something
actually
come up in January.
Yeah, there is something coming up in January. The fishing show. We're gonna do a full episode dedicated on that, guys. We have huge plans. Obviously, we're in a way bigger booth this year. We're with the boys from Mag's Custom Rods. We're super excited about that. We've got new baits coming.
If they don't bring some pasties, they're not getting in the booth.
Yeah, we need some. But the up north pasties, we get some down here. They're like, we're from the UP. No. I want them imported from the UP.
Imported.
So we are going to have that coming up, guys. That's January 11th through the 14th. I do want to say, we posted a link on our Facebook. If I remember, I'm going to post it down below in the bio. But head over to the Ultimate Sports Show Detroit, the Ultimate Fishing Show Detroit. It's going to be in Novi. The tickets are half price. They're only $6 until Christmas. So you can get there, get them for $6. Keep an eye on our Facebook and our Instagram. We're going to be running several different ones. We're going to be giving away tickets. We're going to do another experience, I guess you could call it, for one lucky group. Last year we gave away 2 tickets, bought lunch for them. They kind of hung out in the booth for most of the day, wandered around the show. We're not very much fun.
It's just busy, dude. There's a lot going on.
It's so
really hard, especially on the weekend.
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday are really tough.
Thursday, you can kind of chill a little bit, hang out. But
Thursday, I watch Thursday end up. It'll never be the busiest day because Saturdays, but Thursday's my favorite day. It's now last year. Sometimes it works out where like a booth might get there late or they might not get set up, so you might miss a booth or two. But everything's set up. They all have their full stock. I will say on the weekend, some guys do like different like giveaways and stuff. Like there are different. Every day is a little different. But there's so many less people on Thursday and Friday that we actually get to talk to people, enjoy our customers, and it's not like, hey, these are the baits you want, come visit us in store, and then they leave and they're like, I'm from Ohio. Right. It's like,
Friday is my favorite because there's just enough people to like keep you busy, but there's not too many people to where it's
because all the college girls don't have class on Saturday, hang out with you a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Oh boy! Hopefully she knows how to sell bandits if she's in the booth. But yeah, so we're gonna have a whole episode that's gonna be dedicated on what's coming up at the fishing show, what we got going. We might give away passes in that episode, which probably won't be next week, but the week after that. Other than that, obviously you guys know where to find Joe at Joe Bauer Fishing on Instagram, www.lakestclairbass. As a matter of fact, as of today, Thursday, November 30th, so you guys are going to be hearing this afterwards, give Joe a call. Your books are open, yeah?
Books are open. Give me a shout. Get a deposit in. If you want to go fishing with me. Got the best rig on St. Clair. Got the best quality rods and reels out of the whole fleet. Just give me a shout if you want to have a good time.
Real quick, just give them a little preview of what the season looks like. When and where you are.
So we're gonna start out in April, probably the first week of April, jigging in Detroit. The first 3 weeks of April, it'll be pretty much just exclusively jigging for walleyes in Detroit. Just because that smallmouth bite is really hit or miss that time of year. So that walleye bite, it's a great time to catch a fish over 10 pounds. There's a lot of fish all over the place.
Anyway,
usually about the third week of April is when I'll open up the smallmouth fishing. And
come on, dude. Hang on. Anyway,
I don't keep my boat in a slip, so I am mobile. So if there's a better bite going up on the St. Clair River, we're gonna go up there. If the smallmouth fishing's better, we're gonna go to St. Clair and smallmouth fish. I'm ready to go anywhere, Lake Erie if we have to. So anytime, April's a great time to catch fish.
Yep.
And then as the water gets warmer, May, there's a lot more fish. They're just not quite as big. But the smallmouth fishing's outstanding. The walleye fishing's very good in May, and I'll be doing both of them. So whatever you guys want to do, I'm down for. And then all the way up till July 4th, we'll start trolling for some walleyes, pulling worms. It's a great way to fill the freezer, especially with some people that don't fish all the time, that aren't very confident casting. It's a great way to get them out on the lake. It's usually really nice mornings. Fill them up, get your fish cleaned, and then after July 4th, it's pretty much just smallmouth all the way up through the end of the season in October and November.
Yep. So that's where you guys can find Joe. Our books are going to be opening soon, so just stay tuned on Facebook. Louis gone. Not sure where he went, but he's gone. Probably had to go to the bathroom. So on Louis' behalf, like, share, and subscribe. And and other than that, guys, we really appreciate you. We continue to grow, and as we continue to grow, we'll continue to bring you more content. We'll see y'all next week. Tight lines.